Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a real conversation today. One that cuts through the noise, the excuses, the fantasy we often build in our minds. Let's talk about truth, your truth, because the truth is too many people out here suffering in silence, questioning their worth, wondering what went wrong, not realizing the warning signs were there from the very beginning. We live in a world where red flags are too often dressed up as passion, where controlling behavior is mistaken for love, where manipulation hides behind charm. And before you know it, you're knee-deep in a relationship that's draining you, breaking you, and confusing you. Yet, you keep holding on, hoping it will change. But today isn't about staying in pain. Today is about waking up. Because here's the deal. Nobody teaches us how to walk away. Nobody teaches us how to trust our gut when everything looks good on the surface, but feels wrong in our soul. Nobody teaches us that love should never cost us our peace, our sanity, or our identity. And that's why this message is so important. This isn't just about spotting red flags, it's about honoring yourself enough to do something about them. You don't need a perfect reason to leave. You don't need a final straw that breaks you. If your heart is screaming, if your intuition is whispering, if your spirit feels tired, that's enough. That is your sign. Too many people are stuck in cycles of hope and heartbreak, convincing themselves that love means suffering, that staying means strength, that being loyal to the wrong person is something noble. But let me be clear, being loyal to someone who keeps hurting you is not love, it's self-abandonment. And I know, walking away is hard, choosing yourself is hard, letting go of a future you imagined is hard. But you know what's harder? Staying in a situation that slowly kills your confidence, that silences your voice, that dims your light. So today, I'm challenging you to choose differently, to love yourself enough to recognize when something isn't healthy, to pay attention to the signs that are trying to protect you, and most of all, to understand that leaving isn't a failure, it's freedom. It's the first step toward healing, growth, and real love. The kind of love that doesn't hurt, doesn't lie, doesn't make you question if you're enough. You are enough. You always have been. This is your reminder that your peace is not up for negotiation. Your worth is not on trial. Your heart is not a playground for someone else's brokenness. So sit up, listen closely, and take these words to heart. Because the sooner you learn to recognize the red flags, the sooner you stop settling for pain disguised as passion and start demanding the kind of love that respects, honors, and empowers you. Let's get into it. The power of awareness. Spotting the signs before they wound you. Let's talk about something that too many people ignore until it's too late. Red flags in a relationship. We're often taught to look for love, to chase connection, to find our person, but we aren't always taught how to recognize when love is hurting us more than it's healing us. We're not always taught to pay attention to the signs that something is off early on, before we get too deep. You see, the start of a relationship is when people usually show you their best. So if something feels wrong, even at the beginning, don't ignore that. If you feel uneasy, if something feels off in your gut, that's not paranoia. That's your intuition trying to protect you. One of the first red flags you need to spot is inconsistency. It shows up when their words and actions don't align. Maybe they say they care, but don't show up for you. Maybe they promise effort, but give you excuses. That's not love. That's confusion. And confusion is not a foundation to build a future on. When someone's behavior shifts depending on their mood, their schedule, or their convenience, you're not in a relationship, you're on a roller coaster. Don't confuse emotional ups and downs with passion. Real love is steady, not shaky. Another major red flag is gaslighting. This one is subtle and it creeps in quietly. It sounds like, why are you always so sensitive? That never happened. You're imagining things. Suddenly you start questioning your own memory, your feelings, your perspective. That's not love, that's manipulation. And manipulation is never a form of affection. You should never feel crazy for expressing your emotions. In a healthy relationship, you feel heard, not silenced, validated, not dismissed. Then comes control. And again, it doesn't always show up screaming. Sometimes it whispers. Why do you need to go out with them again? I just worry when you post those kinds of pictures. Maybe you don't need to spend so much time at work. It sounds like concern, but it's control wrapped in a bow. And slowly, without realizing it, you start shrinking. You stop doing things you love. You stop being yourself. That is not the price of love, that is the prison of it. Real love will never require you to lose your freedom, your voice, or your identity. In fact, real love empowers those things. Remember this, red flags do not fade with time. They do not disappear because you're patient. They do not heal because you love harder. Red flags are warnings, and the earlier you recognize them, the sooner you protect your peace. You don't need to wait until you're broken to walk away. You have permission to leave the moment you feel yourself dimming just to make someone else shine. Your future depends on what you tolerate today. Choose wisely. Protect your heart. Pay attention. The truth behind the mask. When love feels like a lie, let's talk about something deep. When people pretend to be someone they are not, just to get close to you. This is one of the most dangerous parts of ignoring red flags. At first, everything feels perfect. You think you found someone who finally gets you. They listen, they compliment, they say all the right things. But here's the truth. Manipulators are masters of disguise. They don't come in wearing red capes and flashing warning signs. They come in the form of charm, romance, and attention. They figure out what you want and they become it. But here's the catch. The version of themselves you fall for isn't real. It's a performance. And when the act fades, the truth comes out. Suddenly, the kind words turn cold. The affection becomes distance. The understanding turns into criticism. And you're left confused, asking yourself, what happened to the person I first met? That's the red flag right there. The switch, the mask falling off. You see, when someone truly values you, they are consistent. Not just when it's convenient, not just when they want something, but all the time. They don't use love as a strategy. They give it freely, without strings, without games. Let's be honest. Sometimes we don't want to see the truth because we're so focused on the potential. We're in love with who they could be, not who they actually are. But potential is not a promise. You can't build a life on maybes. You can't heal someone who doesn't want to be healed, and you cannot save someone who keeps breaking you in the process. Another red flag that often gets overlooked is emotional unavailability. Someone who constantly shuts down when things get serious. They avoid tough conversations. They leave you hanging when you need reassurance. And every time you try to get closer, they pull back. Let me be clear. You should never have to beg for clarity, consistency, or commitment. If someone keeps you guessing, it's not love. It's emotional manipulation. You deserve someone who chooses you openly and completely, not halfway, not when they're ready, and not only when it benefits them, and benefits them only. And here's something powerful. You don't have to prove you're worthy of love. If someone makes you feel like you have to earn their attention or constantly compete for their approval, that's not a relationship. It's a toxic cycle. You're not too emotional. You're not asking for too much. You're asking the wrong person. So pay attention to the patterns. Don't just listen to what they say. Watch what they do. Are they building you up or tearing you down? Are they consistent or confusing? Do they make you feel secure or do they leave you doubting yourself? If the answer keeps leading you back to pain, anxiety, or second-guessing yourself, you already know what you need to do. Don't wait for them to change. Choose to change your path. You're not losing them, you're finding yourself. Choosing you, walking away from red flags with power. There comes a moment in every relationship when you have to make a choice. Do I keep ignoring the red flags or do I choose to protect my peace? And that moment is powerful. It's scary, yes, but it's also the beginning of your breakthrough. Because recognizing red flags is one thing, walking away from them is where your true strength is revealed. You see, staying in a situation where you're constantly being disrespected, manipulated, or taken for granted doesn't make you loyal. It makes you a prisoner to your own fear. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of admitting that the person you cared about isn't who you thought they were. But let me remind you of something. You are not weak for walking away. You are wise. You are worthy. You are rising. You deserve a relationship where you're not constantly questioning your worth, where you don't have to beg for love, attention, or honesty, where you feel safe, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually too. Red flags aren't just inconveniences. They are signals, warnings, signs from God, from the universe, from your intuition telling you this isn't love. This is a lesson in self-respect, a lesson in boundaries, a lesson in healing. And here's the thing about lessons. They keep repeating until we learn from them. You might ask, but what if I never find someone else? What if this is as good as it gets? Let me speak directly to that fear. Settling for less because you're afraid of being alone is the fastest way to lose yourself. Being single and in peace is better than being in a relationship and in pieces. When you walk away from someone who's hurting you, you're not just leaving them behind, you're stepping into your power. You're creating space for real love to enter. You're telling the world, I will not tolerate disrespect, dishonesty, or emotional games. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself. You don't have to wait for things to get worse just to justify leaving. If you see the red flags now, that's enough. Your healing doesn't need permission. Your peace doesn't need approval. So take a deep breath. Let go of the guilt. You are not too much. You are not hard to love. You were just loving someone who couldn't meet you where you are. And that's not your fault. Your future is not behind you, it's ahead, filled with better days, healthier love, and deeper confidence. But you can't step into that future while holding on to someone who keeps pulling you backward. Let this be the chapter where you choose you, where you say, I'm done ignoring the signs, where you reclaim your self-worth and walk boldly toward the love you actually deserve. The red flags were never meant to break you, they were meant to wake you.